We're ready to begin. Marlboro County School District Board of Trustees meeting, regular meeting, Monday, October 2nd, 2017, is called to order. There's been notification of the news media, and the Marlboro Herald is represented, and Mr. Coachman is going to have an invocation for us.
Let us pray. Gracious and eternal God and Father, Lord God, we just like to thank you for the gathering of your people, coming to take care of this district and your children, oh Heavenly Father, the teachers and administration in the entire county. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for watching over us as we slumber and slept. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for allowing us just to see the beauty of another day. Asking you to go with us, O Lord God, as we go to take care of your children, Lord God. Ask you, O Heavenly Father, to continue to bless us, O Lord God. Continue to unite us, O Lord God. O Heavenly Father, take any hate and mistrust away from us, O Heavenly Father. Ask us to join us together at one district and one board, O Heavenly Father, to go to take care of the children and the teachers and administration of the district, and we do it the right way. If you do this, Father, Heavenly Father, be careful to give you the praise. These are the brothers I do pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Coachman. And next, we need approval of the agenda. Would someone please make a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a unanimous vote, Ms. Pearson. And under new business, we need approval of minutes for September 14th, 2017. Would someone make a motion, please?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes for September the 14th, 2017.
Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed? All right.
I haven't seen those minutes. They were not in the agenda.
They weren't in the packet?
Not the packet that I received on the computer.
Oh, all right. Well, the motion is approved. Individuals or groups who wish to appear before the board, and we'll start with Mr. Charles Graham. And he wants to speak about BIS, Bensville Intermediate School.
Nice job, yeah, boy.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Once again, for the 5th month, I'm approaching the Marlboro County School Board with the same issue. The kids and staff at BIS are still getting sick. This is after we spent $82,000 for cleaning specialists and engineers, being assured that things would be taken care of with kids when the kids and staff return to the school. We understand that you have the dehumidifiers, but with the issues that happened at Blenheim, when the brick gets wet, there's nothing you really can do about it but suck the moisture out of the brick, and we don't have anything to do that. So the dehumidifiers and even the new air conditioners won't help solve the problem. My next issue is at Blenheim Elementary Middle School. When the reconfiguration was done, many principals were sent to different places with the expectation that kids will be sent at different places. Mr. McCall has over 600 kids, and he has one assistant principal. You had 200 kids at Clio last year with no assistant. Now she has only 137 kids, and she has an assistant principal. If Mr. McCall is going to be with one assistant principal, if it fails, will it be blamed on him for failure, or will it be known that he didn't have appropriate staff to help him out? Next, my next issue, I vaguely heard that in-district employees were receiving pay increases without board notification. This was discussed at the last meeting. Dr. Lane, they asked you if you knew about these pay increases, and you took it and you put it off on Mr. Park. When Mr. Park replied, he didn't know. So I got my superintendent and I got my accountant who don't know about pay increase. And then Mr. Cobb stepped up and said that there had been some changes in pay. And this is sort of alarming, seeing that the budget was put out and we had pay increases done after the budget was put out, and my 2 main people didn't know anything about it. And I got good teachers that's leaving the district and they can't get paid, but I got district people getting raises. Lastly, it has been brought up before the board several months about the pay that the attorney is receiving. But we continue to skate around the topic. As a tax-paying, concerned citizen and parent, I would like to know about how much money that Mr. Childs is being received. And if we standing up here every month talking about the kids and doing what's right for the kids. I got parents, I got people, I got grandparents who got kids out at Bennettsville Elementary School who are dealing with this mold issue, not just the mold that's on the wall, but walking into the classroom, breathing in and smelling this mold, and we say we're gonna get an air conditioner unit done. When our kids keep getting sick and our teachers keep getting sick, who's gonna foot the bill to take care of our kids when they at home hollering and crying because of an issue that the school
Mr. Graham,
district
your
didn't
3
take care
minutes
of?
is up.
Thank you.
Ms. Marla Stuckey, and she wants to speak about school mold in the learning environment.
This is Maria Stuckey, and she's a 4th grade GT student at Bennettsville Intermediate. And basically, she's going to tell you firsthand what it's like being at Bennettsville Intermediate dealing with a mold school situation. So go ahead, Maria.
When I'm in the music today, I feel really sick.
Okay. And when you go to art?
I get really bad headaches.
And when you go to music? You can say it.
I feel really bad today.
And when you go to computer lab on the 5th grade hall, you feel?
I get a headache.
So how does this make you feel going to school, knowing that you like to learn, that you love to draw, that you love to sing, that you love to be on the computer, but you feel sick? Does it make you feel like people care?
No.
Okay. That's your 4th grade GT student at Bennettsville Intermediate, and that's what she wants to say. Okay, so I guess I'll take a little bit of her time. I just want to kind of piggyback on what he was saying about the mold, but to give you from a parent dealing with a kid that last year, you know, she was the ambassador for the March of Dimes. She was Little Miss Everything, and to me, she is everything. So to put her with allergies in a mold situation, it's not fair. For me to hear teachers, to hear staff complaining and saying how their health is being affected from asthma to bronchitis to allergies, constantly having to go to see Dr. Stone in Florence. And I'm just like, okay, when is enough enough? And I hear like in the prayer, we're saying we're for the kids, but when does it really get to be about them? When do we care about our staff and say, okay, wait a minute, this lady loves these kids. She's not here to get rich. She's here because she loves to teach. Why can't they be in an environment that is conducive to learning if that's what we're really about? If we're gonna be a real community that really cares about these kids, why are we allowing them to sit in buildings that are old, that are so molded that when you walk in, you're just like, oh my God. And then to hear, well, they're gonna close down the 6th grade hall, but to hear, oh, they're opening up a computer lab, it's like, so what has to happen? What's the bottom line? What are we looking for to happen? Are we looking for some child to not come home? Seriously, this is long-term effects on your people. How can you not see? How can you not care? If you care, show. Like, show and prove. Don't just say you care. If you care me, show to me how you care. Don't let our kids sit in mold when this school that was built before I was born or conceived a thought in my mom's mind. Tear this school down. Give our kids what is due to them. If there's a nice school in McCall, there's a nice school in Blenheim, there can be a nice school at Bennettsville.
Ms. Stuckey, your 3 minutes
Okay,
is up.
there can be a nice school at Bennettsville Intermediate. They deserve equity, and that's what we're asking for, equity. Not better as in we want the world, but we want equity. We want to be equal, and that's
3
it.
minutes
I
is
heard
up.
you. I hope you heard me.
Individual board items for October board meeting. Mr. Coachman. Beg your pardon? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. McNeil. I lost your thing in the pages here. Okay. Mr. McNeil.
Madam Chair and board members and community, thanks for the opportunity to speak. And I think what you heard is the district, as parents and community members, wanting to see some urgency or direction or movement on Bennettsville Intermediate. I see it's on the agenda, and that's a good thing, so we can talk about it. But my concern tonight is, as a community member, we would like to have some kind of direction of which way the district is going as far as leadership. When the superintendent search gonna start, waiting on court, what's the direction of leadership in the district? Mr. Lang is doing a fine job, but we just need to know some definite what's the direction. Secondly, the administrative coverage throughout the district. I think Mr. Graham already spoke on it. I have a daughter down in Blenheim, and I checked. I know McCall currently have 3 administrators, Wallace have 3, Bennettsville Primary have 3. And I think for Blenheim to be successful, Mr. McCall needs another administrator. Don't know how he feel about that. I haven't spoke with him, but as a parent, I think we need a little bit more administrative coverage down here. And also with certified teachers, I think now if there's any certified teachers in this district that aren't from students, we need to get them there. We need to make sure that they are being taught by certified personnel. Next, security situation at Blenheim. I see that the county resource officers is on the agenda, but I think we need to look for an interim solution. When I dropped my son off at the high school, I see CMC has some campus monitors, radios, they working with the school leaders. I think we need something like that in Blenheim, because we've already had an incident where people off campus came onto campus, and that campus is wide open. So as an interim, a short-term solution, can we get some of those CMC monitors on that campus until that contract can be worked out? Also, I think it's time to revisit Kelly staffing.
Revisit what? I couldn't hear you.
Kelly staffing.
Okay.
A lot of issues with Kelly. Now, my daughter and her PCA, we're fine. But I know with substitutes and other parents of children with disabilities, there's a lot of issues and concern with Kelly. I know there were concerns with the health care cost at first, but I think we need to revisit Kelly. Also, I asked the district to release an active organizational flow chart. Let us see who's doing what. Responsibility has changed. Others have got more, lost some. I tried to get my hands on wood and couldn't. And I also want to bring it to the board and the community. We're just in October, but I think Mr. Farr at the high school deserves credit. My son goes there. We are extremely pleased with the direction of the high school. The students responded. He's putting academic things in place, and I know as a parent, I'm happy with the direction of the high school. And I think, we need to give positive props when doing it. I have to give it to him. So far, we're going in the right direction. But I think, board, summing it up, we need to get some urgency with Bennettsville Intermediate and administrative coverage also. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Individual board items for October. Really, we need the November board meeting because we're in October now. So I'm going to change that to November. Mr. Coachman, what would you like in November?
We had, since we opened the new school in Wallace, we had 8 accidents coming off of Wild Road onto Highway 9 there in Wallace, and they had to cut a lady out the other day. And the problem is in the morning hours, the sun is reflecting, and if you're turning left or right, getting on to number 9, coming off Old Wild Road, it blocks your vision, and you don't know whether the car is coming or not. And I would like to address and see if we can get the administration to look into getting a traffic light put there, right there on Old Wire, number 9 in Wallace, to save some child, some parents, some innocent person's life. I mean, 8 accidents and nobody dead yet. We've been blessed. So I think that's definitely something we need to not just look into to make it happen.
All right. Mr. Branch?
Kelly Services.
Okay. Mr. Driggers?
It's going to take me a minute here, but we may already have this, and I may not know anything about it. So if we already have this, Dr. Cobb.
He was over that way.
Okay, anyway, if we already have this, tell me we do. But I'm interested in trying to take our graduating seniors that we have each year and taking those and try to follow them as they go through college. If we know they're going into college, and we know that they're going into the education field, to try to make sure that we keep a contact with them, keep voices with them, so we can encourage them to come back home to Marlboro County to teach. We may be doing this. If we're doing this, just tell me what you're doing. But if you're not doing this, I'd like to have a program of somewhere along that line. Our graduates that graduated in 15 and 16, and they're off in college, and they're learning the educational levels, they're going to come back and be teachers. We need to make sure that we stay in contact with them, encouraging them to come back home to teach, because we all know that we need teachers here in Marlboro County. If we don't have something like that, could we implement that? Can we start something along that line? If we're not doing anything, we'll send them a Christmas card, whatever. But can we start something like that? And if we don't have it, would you please bring me something next month, maybe giving me an idea of whether it's even feasible to do that? And that's what I'd like to see on the agenda for next month.
All right. Ms. Fleming?
Nothing.
Okay. Mr. Norton?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Ms. Ornation?
Yes, I'd like an update on the Abbeville funding situation, particularly as it may relate to Bennettsville Intermediate School and what funds we may have available. And I realize that BIS is a top priority and that we have, I think according to Wes, made our application. My understanding was we would hopefully have a response soon, like maybe October 10th or something? Okay, okay. And the other thing, I know we're focused on BIS. I don't want to take that focus away, but I would like to look at the School of Discovery, a couple of things there that we probably need to be looking at as well. Maybe even directing Mr. McLeod and Mr. Brown to take a look at that to see what might be possible to do there, so that in our priority list, that roof and the water under the auditorium, that we have some way to work with that. And it doesn't need to wait until next meeting. If there's some information that can be provided, that would be great. Okay. If there's anything we as board members can do to help get that money in here, then let us know.
Before we move on, Ms. Fleming, have you thought of something?
I want to ask, Mr. Parks, I think I had to leave, I left the last meeting. I'm curious, the information you shared, would you mind about the Abbeville case? How much? What can it be used for? And what is the drawing on these funds? What can it be used for? Can you?
We submitted an application for 3 $1 million projects, and it can be used, assuming that we get award for, the highest priority that we submitted was for Bennettsville Intermediate, and it was to address roofing, HVAC, air quality items. And we submitted 2 other projects. I don't know whether you saw in the paper today in Florence Morning News, 2 other districts that submitted in the prior month have already been awarded. One received $915,000, the other received $1 million.
So have we already addressed those items you said for BIS?
That is included in our application.
But have we already addressed it with $86,000?
Only the cleaning portion,
Just cleaning.
not the roofing, which is really the cause of roofing and HVAC, I think, is a lot of the cause of the moisture issues within the school.
And do I remember correctly, you said it was possible that we may find out by the 10th of this month?
That is correct.
Okay.
And certainly by the next meeting, we should know.
So my question is, you request the money, and then
Yes.
you can and tell what you're going to. They have no criteria what you should use this money for. I know
The criteria, there was a statewide assessment they did on all our facilities.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And what they've indicated in the instructions is that we needed to be able to reference those items that were identified in that facility study that was performed by the state. And we were able to do that because the items that we selected were either in poor or fair condition.
Okay, so that is that report we received back in the spring, that all the schools we had, is that the report we're talking about? Because there were several schools, and particularly Benesville Intermediate and the School of Discovery, that the rating was just not good. And now that was from the state, but I'm trying to feel like how this money is going to come and it's going to be gone, and what will we have to show for it? Do we need to patch up something we'll need to patch it 6 years from now and the Abbeville money is gone?
Well, what we find is that roofing tends to last somewhere between 25 and 40 years. So the types of things that we're talking about would be in that range as far as the types of improvements that we would be making, renovations.
All right, Ms. Parson, I know, and let me just kind of say this. I know that we have not been a board that did workshops, so we never have, but we need to. This money, it took over 20 years to get this money.
Certainly.
It's a one-time deal. I think before we go ahead and spend it, we need some workshops where we could sit down and fine-tune what we're going to do with this money, so that 10 years from now, the money will be gone, but we'll have something to show. And I just don't, I do think I think if you could just set some time with the board and let us say, okay, this is what we're going to get, this is what we're going to do. Do we think this is a good idea? We will have people to come in, because
Would this be a logical plan if we find out around the 10th of October and then give the staff a month to plan
By the next meeting.
a presentation of an assessment of what needs to be done, and then have a workshop so that it's done in as efficient and effective way as we can? Would that be agreeable?
that would be fine, because I
Okay,
just don't,
all right.
I just
Very
see
good.
where this.
So we'll be talking about sometime in November.
November.
And how much that fund's supposed to be?
Well,
We don't know.
chances are that our award is going to be about $1 million is what I'm expecting. There are 48 districts that are competing for $55.8 million.
48?
48, yes.
How did that?
Well, what happened was not only is Abbeville included, but 80% poverty.
What now?
So
Can
those
we-
districts that have at 80% poverty
Okay.
are also a part of the formula.
Can you guys begin to get ready for a workshop in November?
Certainly.
And let's move on with this, because we're still at the beginning of the meeting and we're about to get derailed.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
All right. And next, we're moving to board items for discussion that we planned last month for this month. Mr. Coachman, change in bereavement pay for district employees.
Yes, I had some questions from teachers and that was concerned about our policy, and I'd just like to know what our policy is for bereavement pay for our employees, or teachers, or administration.
Dr. Lane, I think knows. Can you tell me you've looked that up?
Who will know that?
I'm going to ask Dr. Powell to come forward and
Okay.
say human resources.
All right.
I can't answer that. I don't know anything about it.
Okay. So I guess we put that
No,
on
no,
the
no,
next
no,
one?
no, 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 ma'am, no.
My understanding is that it's included under policy GCC, which if someone takes bereavement days, it's taken out of their sick leave.
Right.
So we don't have a bereavement policy for district employees,
I think
basically.
most districts do it that way, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong. I look at least of one other district.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Madam Chair, I'd just like to put on the agenda for our next board meeting.
Okay.
That we come up with a bereavement plan
Okay.
for district employees, and that's basically similar to what most employees give 3 days bereavement pay. I don't think if somebody have a death or lose their mother or sister, they should have to take sick pay or vacation off of their time.
I can assure you the staff would appreciate that. In many districts, staff are given up to 3 or 4, sometimes 5 days, depending on the closeness or the nearness of the person that was deceased. So, for instance, in a previous district where I worked, you got 4 days for a brother, sister, or what have you, and maybe 2 days for a grandparent or something. So we can bring that back to you, and we'd be happy to.
Okay,
with pay.
we'll add it on there. Okay. Mr. Branch, update on security system.
Well, I think they're covering that later on.
Okay, so we'll check that off, check this off. And Mr. Woods is not here, so let's defer his until next month.
Mr. Woods is running late. He said if we can move it down the agenda, he'd be here. He's on his way on the highway.
All right.
So he's in the hospital.
All right, well,
His son was in the hospital?
You got Mr. Norton there. Electronic marquees for schools.
oh, I need
Mr. Norton.
something to mark the line here. I must have an astigmatism. Okay, let me get this straight. Okay, Mr. Branch, okay, I thought that was Mr. Woods. Okay, Mr. Norton, the electronic marquees for schools.
I'll wait for Reverend Woods because I think they kind of
Oh, yeah, they kind of together,
coincide with
aren't
each
they?
other.
Okay.
We'll just wait.
I have something on that.
Okay, go ahead.
We have a sign that's been ordered about 3 or 4 years ago for Blenheim. Can you give me a status, anybody, update on that, where it's at and why it has not been put in place for the Blenheim Middle School, elementary middle school?
It wasn't put in place because of the block where Mr. Parker has his new station. What happened was, you know, you were still going back and forth about whether or not you were going to use that property or not. And so therefore, that's why we held off with the sign. Because with the sign, if we had put it right on the corner, then the post office would have blocked it if you're coming from Bennettsville. If you put it on further down, then it could be seen coming back both ways. If you put it on the side road going towards Mr. Brock's house, then it was blocked from one way by that telephone building. So we were waiting to, see if we could finally put it down from where Mr. Parker's new station is, kind of on the crest of that hill. Now, I spoke with Mr. Parker on Friday, and he's going to put another building beside what he has now. But he said it shouldn't be a problem with us, placing it somewhere on the right-of-way down, near that entrance off of 38.
Okay.
But that's the reason that, it wasn't put any place, because we was trying to find the right place where it could be seen readily, coming and going.
Okay.
So what do we need to do as far as the school district? We just need to follow with Mr. Parker and
Well, I've talked with Mr. Parker. The only thing I've got to do is get with Mr. Brock about putting it on the right of way.
Okay.
And so, the wheels are turning. So, soon we hope to have it in place.
Okay. If we could have an update on that next month, that'd be good too.
Okay.
All right, and the next, Ms. Bright called me this afternoon, and she's home ill with a respiratory infection. And so it's Ms. Owenation with the update on Bennettsville Intermediate School. Ms. Owenation.
Well, I see that Mr. Tim Brown is here, and he is on the program, and I had intended for him to do that. I just want to mention a couple of things that I'm aware of. I've been out there. Okay. We have some dehumidifiers now to try to help with the moisture that's in there, because the hallways are not air conditioned in the back halls, and the HVAC units are in. We've ordered them and they're here. Now they got to be put in. So we're making progress, and I understand the roofing architect has been there and is going to have a proposal for us, and also the exterior portion where the leaking is coming with the weep holes, they've been there. So we just have to be a little patient, I guess, to find out how much it's going to cost and can we pay for it and what we need. But we're moving forward from everything I can see to take care of those children, which is our first concern.
All right, next is, let's split this up.
Madam Chair.
And Mr. Coachman, the discussion of ball fields for Wallace Elementary School.
Okay, Madam Chair, before I begin on that, I just got a request. I'm looking at the agenda, and we all have school surveillance system up on the administrative service. Can we remove county resource officer in that same place on the agenda? We have our chair here tonight. I know he's pretty busy, and that will kind of coincide what we're doing. Trying to change it.
I'm missing what you're saying.
Go to the bottom of the superintendent's report.
Yeah.
To put county resources officer up under administrative service where we have video. surveillance camera so that we can.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
that kind of.
Okay, we'll do that later. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
All right. Now, do you want to say anything about the ball fields?
Well, I can say that we're playing football on the football field. The recreation in the middle school is kind of hard, about like falling on clay. You know, it's pretty rough, but we are playing there. And I talked with Dr. McLeod, and he's working on the lighting system. And so I got an update from him earlier when we first came to the meeting. So it looks like that's going in the right direction. The only other thing we'll be concerned about is concession stand. There's no restroom out there, and schools are locked up, so the parents don't have any way to go to use the restroom. So the sooner we can get the concession stand up, come up with something for the concession stand and bathroom, that'll be all we need up there. But I think the lighting situation, Dr. McLeod, he's already addressing that.
Right. That's it?
Yep.
Okay. And now, Blenheim Elementary School, Mr. Driggers.
Well, I don't have any information. I want Mr. Brown to give me an update on what's going on at Blenheim. So I see we've got it on here twice. You can give it now or you can give it later, as long
You
as
want to
you give
do
me
it
an
all at one
update.
time? Okay. All right. So we're done with that. And Human Resources Makeup Day for September 11th, 2017. Dr. Cobb.
Madam Chair, board members, you have at your chairs in a folder that due to Hurricane Irma, September the 11th, we missed school because of the hurricane, and we would like to make up that missed day for the traditional schedule on January the 3rd, and for the extended year schedule, December 15th.
Would someone make a motion, please?
You've run this by staff. 'Cause
Yes.
That's cutting the Christmas holidays
Only for the extended
calendar.
Okay. Well, it's cutting it for the traditional calendar, but
Yes,
that
it
was
is.
going to be the first day for teachers coming back without students.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion to approve that, the administration's recommendation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous, Ms. Pearson. The motion's passed. Thank you. All right. And let's see. Administrative Services. Mr. Brown, we'll start with the update on fields at Blenheim Elementary School.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, board members, Dr. McLean? Lane, I'm sorry. Excuse me, Dr. Lane. This is October 2nd. Board meetings give you a status of the proposal for the Blenheim ball fields. The erosion control silk fencing has been installed. The stripping and clearing will begin within the next 2 weeks, is what I talked to the contractor before the meeting. He said he should be there within 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Could be sooner, but he's on another job. You know, he had to take another job because he had to switch ours because we didn't vote to do it. And so we got second line. But anyway, it's in the works.
Okay. And next.
Any questions, Mr. Driggs?
Well, kind of the question I asked you before, on the football field.
Yes,
sir. We were hoping to, or I was hoping, I don't know if anyone else, but everybody else was hoping. We're talking about soccer, we're talking about even the track down there on that same piece of land.
Yes, sir.
Now, from what my understanding from you is the football field will not be long enough to include a track around it. Is that what you're telling me?
There's not enough periphery around the ball field for a track.
For the track.
For the track. There is, we are going to have a wider field to accommodate soccer, but it will, there's just not enough room to make the oval for the track.
Okay, I was just trying to figure out some way. I know that there's got to be somebody out here that's done track, and we haven't had a track meet in Marlboro County, and gosh knows when. And I was just trying to come up with an idea where we might possibly get a new track thrown in there, where we could have a track meet, but you're saying it's not going to fit, so we'll work something else out.
We put that in with the engineers when we first had the plans drawn, and he said it just would not fit.
Thank you for the information.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Wait a
update
minute,
on-
that's the requirements for the high school league. What about for a middle school situation? I think, anyway, I'll talk with you about that. There should be some way we can get some kind of track out there.
No, well, I was thinking of high school really myself.
You really want the
because
high school with the
we
league?
can't-
Okay.
We can't
Yeah, it won't
hold the
fit
track
for that.
meet here on one we have here.
Well, we win every race.
Yeah, we would.
It'd be nice if we could fix
Of course,
one
we'd
out
start
here.
100 yards shorter than everybody else.
All right, update on Bennettsville Intermediate School.
The status of BIS. ServPro has completed the cleaning of the HVAC ductwork and the building itself. The new HVAC units are to be delivered to the supplier this week, and in fact, they were brought in to the supplier yesterday, so they are in Florence. I've spoken to the installer, and he anticipates next week beginning the installation of those new units. Two dehumidifiers have been installed in A and B wing hallways. As you know, those wings are not air conditioned, or the hallways are not, and from the doors opening constantly from from A to B or A to the cafeteria. Whenever those doors open, we're bringing in hot air that's got moisture in it from the humidity. So we put those dehumidifiers in. Hopefully that will alleviate that, along with the new units that are going in, because all the new units will have dehumidifiers in them.
That's new.
The barred units, yes.
That's a new thing.
Yeah, it's a hot gas reheat system that is built in, and that will, well, according to the engineers, it will work. I'm not me, I'm just repeating. Trees next to the south side of A wing have been removed. That was to take the trees away from the roof. They were overhanging the roof on the A wing, and also let's light in to start drying out that area that stayed wet because of the never getting any sun on that side of the building. The roofing architect, Shepherd and Associates, are developing a plan and specifications for the replacement of the roof on the administration, media center, as well as the 3rd and 4th grade classrooms. The other roofs were put on about 9 or 10 years ago, and they're still under warranty and they're not leaking. We had one leak, and we contacted the company, and they've come back and repaired that. And that was in a hallway right across from the gymnasium.
Okay.
And the exterior of the building has been inspected by Blackwell Design Services, and a scope of work has been developed, and he's now putting that on a plan footprint of the building. And once he has that done, then we'll be able to look at getting prices to make that corrections.
Blackwell, you said Blackwell.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You said
Blackwell Design Service.
What have you contracted with them to do?
He's a civil engineer that we've used on other projects. He's from Laurinburg, and he's come over, and he and I have walked the building. He's listed, I didn't bring it with me, but a scope of work to take and get the water away from the building. One of the issues we're having is the water is not being able to drain away from the building. On the south side of the building, on A wing, for example, someone put a roadway through there. They built it up, so we need to take that out, let that water drain to the woods. You can't trap that water. And then there's shrubs, there's weep holes that should have to be cleaned out. We're going to have to take a sidewalk and put a drain across it to let that water that comes down off the roof drains to get out of where it's being trapped now. There's several other things that are on this list.
I was making a note of this SUPO, what was they called, a HVAC system was installed, the dehumidifier, and then the roofing, and now you say we're going to get a contractor in to look at the whole scope of the work. And I hear the angst from the parents about what's going on with their children, and I said what I had to say on this several months back, and I have not changed how I feel, parents. So I am with you. I feel what you're saying. So I think we kind of back it into something that that we're not looking. I mean, we got all these things, and yet we're going to get an architect or someone, a contractor to come in and do more. But that's the route we're going. So
we had the plan to hire an engineer to test and sample the air and test for the mold, and his recommendation was that these areas that needed addressing that we needed to fix, and one was the HVAC, one was the roof, one was the exterior of the building where water's being trapped, along with the HVAC in the back two wings, and that's what we're addressing. I wish we could get it done sooner, but unfortunately,
I'm sure the parents wish you could have gotten it done sooner as well.
Well,
because,
I think we're probably within 75 days from the time
we were when we were here in the spring. We were supposed to have it done before school started.
Oh no, ma'am! I didn't get involved till June. I didn't get involved.
I heard that.
No, I mean I didn't get involved until July.
But when we were here with the mold person, they said by the time school started, this would be fixed. So it's not. The parents are still there. They're still complaining and they're still getting sick. So I just want to let y'all know my displeasure.
Yes, ma'am. I understand.
So noted. Is that all with BIS?
Yes.
All right. And next is school video surveillance system, Mr. Toole.
I think Dr. McLeod's going to address that.
All right, Dr. McLeod. And right after that, we'll go to the sheriff with the issue of the county resource officers.
Surveillance. Dr. Fowler, there's some concern about revealing what type of surveillance
right.
they're using.
Right. I brought that up one time before.
Okay. In your folders, second page, you'll see a reprint from the August 7th board meeting. Where we noted the estimated number of cameras that we estimate will possibly be needed at each of those 4 schools, and the figure would possibly be somewhere between 120 to 145,000 to do all 4 schools. Now, what's not on there is that the high school here, their system needs upgrading, a lot of upgrading, and also Bennettsville Intermediate School's system needs some upgrades.
Dr. McLeod, what would it be to do district-wide, what we need? Have a city for that?
Would you say with new complete system in the high school? Okay, if you're going with the complete system in the high school, to do everything's probably going to be in the neighborhood of $200,000. But now these figures from 120 to 140 for those 4, I can assure you that it'll come in at less than that. In other words, 120 was the high side of it.
That was a total of 200.
Is
that a total of 200?
Probably about a total of 200, because the high school itself, the system for this school would probably be in the neighborhood of $70,000 to $80,000 if you're going to replace the entire system.
So the high school and these other
4
other schools all together would be $200,000
in the neighborhood.
Okay, plus or minus.
Now you also got Bennettsville Intermediate.
Yeah.
It's going to need some upgrading, so it's probably going to be around 210.
Maybe 225.
We really wouldn't know until we go through the procurement process. Now, you know, if you go through the procurement process and you're going to get it all done by one company, it could possibly come in a lot less, and it's going to depend on what kind of cameras you need also.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
All
do
right,
you all
and-
want to do the signs now?
Yeah, we could do that while you're up here.
If you if you look in your that folder, you'll see a colorful 2 two-sided brochure. And it's two-sided. On the front side, I had them do a markup of what an electronic sign for the high school would look like. Now, they can do it for any school that you want it done for. And the sign for Blenheim is identical to this particular sign. And ironically, since 2013, the price has not gone up. The only thing that's changed a little bit is the freight charges. The last thing with the faces for the sign out here at the high school, that's the only thing that they haven't gotten back to me with the cost for those plastic faces for the sign that's out here at the high school. But this is what the electronic sign would cost. And like I say, you can get this made up for any school that you would like to.
Would there be a savings in having every school sign the same?
No, ma'am, because I rocked them down to the lowest price that they would give us either way.
All right.
And really, Blenheim, we've got signs for everybody except Bennisville Intermediate needs another sign because it's got Bennisville Middle School over there. And the high school is the only other one that does not have an electronic sign. Blenheim, Wallace, they have electronic signs. McCall doesn't have an electronic sign.
No, and it was given by the PTO when the school was built. And I really would like you to consider making it electronic because number one, it's a little bit dangerous changing it. It's a fairly tall, and I've stood on the back of my truck box many times and changed it. And it needs, well, we put it was done high for vandalism purposes.
Okay.
And the plexiglass on it now is pretty yellow. There is a line that runs out to that sign. Now, what condition that electric line is in, I'm sure we need to look at, but there is already a line at that marquee. Quite a few bulbs out of it over the years, background bulbs and so forth. I wish you'd look at making it electronic. It would allow the school to change that sign much more readily in cases of emergency, like for instance with the water system. It would have been a great thing to be able to put it up there quickly for people.
Clyde's got one like the rest of it.
Okay. All right. And next, is it agreeable with everyone to go to the county resource officers?
Yes, let's have the sheriff. He's waited long enough.
Exactly. Sheriff Lemon.
He'll come back to the podium, Dr. Clark. And
Sheriff Lemon.
You're welcome to join him at the podium.
You're up.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, Superintendent Lane, school board members, and to all of those in attendance this afternoon. As Sheriff of Marlboro County, I stand before you humble as a lamb, asking y'all to consider to look at the school resource officers. As you know, the Blenheim School and the Wallace School is just two schools here in the county that does not have school resource officers. And I would say that every child's life is precious and every child's life is important, and particularly those that's in school and those that are in church. Why I say that is because a kid that's in school and a kid that's in church, they're where they're supposed to be at. And I think that they need to be there, and they need to not have to worry about being in danger or someone coming in hurting or harming them. Second to that, I would say your staff or even some of you may be at the school or visiting yourself. As you look around in the world, what's going on today, I'm sure you all see and know we are not exempt. Here in about a couple months, I have 31 years in law enforcement, and the world is drastically changing. And by the time we or my folks can get from one point to one point, say from Bensfield to Wallace or from Bensfield to Blenheim, in the event that we have something tragic to happen, the suspects could be anywhere. They could have that child. They could be on any road. If you're going down toward Blenheim, if they abduct a child, they could hit 95 north or south. And the thing that's going to be important is what happens once we get there. But before we get there, the most tragic thing is where they're going to go. They could turn off before they get to 95. If you up in the Wallace area, you have Highway 177 takes you into North Carolina. You have Highway number 1 takes you into North Carolina. And certainly if they go across the River Bridge, I think we'll be somewhat have a chance because we can make contact relatively pretty quick to have them stop. But in the event that there is a tragedy, we can only do what we can do when we get there. And I would say to you all, if you would please, ma'am, please, sir, consider 2 school resource officers. I had the occasion to talk to Superintendent Lane and Dr. McLeod and Mr. Herbert McNeil on last Friday or Thursday. And in doing so, you have a package there that shows the total cost, and they are on the 1033 program, and they was talking about getting maybe 2 vehicles at low mileage under that 1033 program. And as a sheriff, I have no problem with that. I want to work with you guys and you ladies all I can, but the price on there for the vehicles is the new price. And under the 1033 program, they have explained to me that they could get some vehicles that low mileage, and if the mileage is low, I'm perfectly fine with that. I think it's a good thing that will help with the cost of you guys. So I have no problem with that. It would just be need striping and putting this stuff on there and make sure that the radio's in and we can get that checked. But if the mileage is relatively low, certainly I would honor that. But if the mileage is high, I think we'd have to relook at that. But other than that, I have no problem with that. Want to work and asking y'all to work with me. Help me all you can, because if we do what's right, it's not about me. It's about, number one, the kids, and it's about folks in Marlboro County, and it's about you guys. So,
Sheriff Lemon, how long would it take you to get 2 SROs trained and equipped?
The academy now has moved up to 15 weeks. It used to be 10, but now it's 15 weeks. At one time it was 8 weeks, so they jumped up to 10 weeks. Now it's 15 weeks. So if I was approved to get to hire these guys, I would have to get them, of course, background. I'd have to get them approved, and I'd have to get them to the academy. And now you have to take them the day that you hire them. The very next day you got to get them to the firing range, which I'll be responsible for that. We get them certified on the firing range. Then the next thing I'd have to do is contact the academy and get them up to the academy, and then the academy do what they call a pre-registration. Once they pass the pre-registration, which they'll pass it within a couple of hours at the academy, then they will set a date, and it normally takes 15 weeks in the academy, but it normally takes about 2 months before they can enter the academy. And the reason being for that is because the academy is backlogged with other agencies throughout the state of South Carolina.
So conceivably, we wouldn't even be able to get it done this year, but if we put it in the budget process, we could be ready for next year?
I would be fair to say that that could be a true statement, but the director of the academy has told all the sheriffs in the state of South Carolina that in the event that we get something that we think is pressing, which to me,
it's pressing.
It's very pressing. I could get it done relatively. All I have to do is pick up the phone and write a letter of my express and distress. And what will happen is the director of the academy will put me a priority over. And
so that would reduce it to how many months?
I would say it could easily reduce it to 3 months, easy, because what would happen is immediately once I get them registered, he would go ahead and put me on that list right then, and the next class that they will have, if it depends on if it's in the middle of the month, but if it's toward the end of the month, they'll put me in right then. But if it's in the middle of the month, they carry me over to 2 months.
So we could be ready for second semester?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you're looking at.
I guess my question is there anything that you can help us with or we can do between this time and that time?
Yes, sir.
What can you help us with on that?
I will do what we have been doing for quite some time. When it's quiet, we try to go into the schools and be visible, seen. In some instances, I eat lunch with them. And we go in as much as we can. And of course, there's some days that we don't ever get down there. And depends on what's going on. We might go in twice a week. And sometimes we go in once a week. But we try to make sure that we at least go through there and cut through there and ride through the area. And we speak to the staff as best as we can. And we do that as much as we can. Sometimes we might can stay 10 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes, sometimes maybe an hour.
But the point is, a perpetrator does not know when you're going to be there.
Yes, ma'am. That's right.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's effective even though it's not full time.
That's right.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, Ms. Owen. I'm sorry, I didn't push your hand up.
Yeah, I'm
sorry, Ms.
She's waiting. All right.
Lots of times when you're driving along the road, you just have a dummy car out there just to make you slow down. Does the sheriff department have a vehicle they could just park at the school and maybe a perpetrator would deter me when I see a policeman. I slow down from 100 miles an hour to 90. And,
95 now.
And so that's a deterrent. I'm just saying, especially at Blenheim, it's so isolated, and especially when you're talking about Wallace, where number 1 and 77 goes into North Carolina. In 10 minutes, you're in North Carolina, plus all those country roads. Until we can get what we need, you have an old car.
We will try and do that from time to time. And again, it's going to depend on what's going on, but we will try to accommodate in doing that. And of course, if we do that, we would have to rotate it from Blenheim to Wallace, because I wouldn't want to do Blenheim and not do Wallace, and wouldn't want to do Wallace without doing Blenheim. So I would somewhat rotate it, but we would try and accommodate that.
Okay. Madam Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
When you're looking at the 1033 program, if that worked, would that eliminate the 52,000, or is there still a portion of that we pay? And is there any way you can help us with any of these costs? We're trying to do a sharing thing. Our budget, this is not in our budget. We've already extended it several times. We want this. There's no question about it. Is there anything else you can do to help us financially? Like, anything you can pay, the retirement, the health insurance, anything like that. Have you looked at that in your budget?
As I indicated, what it looks like is, as far as the vehicle, that's the only offset that I will be able to do. And if I go back and sit down and talk with the county administrator, and we come up with something different, I would be gladly to let Superintendent Lane know, Dr. McLeod or Dr. Cobb know. And I say that because pretty much those are the three I've been in contact with, more so with Dr. McLeod and Dr. Cobb.
And I realize you're strapped too, and we are too, so I'm just asking you if there is another avenue, anything would be helpful.
Sure. Yes, ma'am. I certainly understand that.
Well, you've given us really good information so we can get a time frame and,
yes, ma'am,
and know how to go about this.
Yes,
Mr. Coachman.
We always ask Mr. Park to find money. A lot of times he go out and find it. I think this is one of those extreme circumstances where we need Mr. Park to go out and find this $133,000 to start up.
Less perhaps the 52.
Well, that's
with cars, possibly.
Well, if we just find 133, that'll give us our officers, and that'll give us the pay. And year after the first year is only $60,000, right?
Let me explain that. And I think that the first year's cost, of course, is going to be the expensive cost, right. And the reason being is that will be because of the vehicles. But once the vehicle is in there, you won't have to put the vehicles in there after that. It's over with, because you'll have the vehicles and you won't need them every year after that. So that's what we have. That's why it's that.
And equipment.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. All that's in there.
Yeah.
Yes,
that'll take $60,000 a year off of it.
Easy.
After
Yes,
the
sir.
first year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And Mr. Park, you got some work to do.
Dr. McLeod is
I
probably
appreciate it.
We just added that to the next month for November, right? So everybody can can get facts for us.
But again, Madam Chairman,
you very
Superintendent,
much
and
for
board
coming.
members.
I got one more
we
question.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Driggers?
Yes, sir.
Sheriff Lemon, and I may be stepping on somebody, overstepping my bounds, but I don't think anyone up here is going to fight real hard against this. So is there something that you could possibly do to start this ball rolling before Mr. Park gives us to? I don't want you to commit anything. I mean, tell anybody we got them a job. But I mean, is there anything that we could do to enhance this moving forward quicker while Mr. Parks is looking?
I have a young man, and I'm sure most of you I know all of you know him, Ross Childress. Ross is a good kid, and he would be what a school resource officer would fit. He's fit that program. And Ross is in school now. He has 2.5 more weeks and he'll be graduating.
Great.
And he has taught with me, and I have spoken with him, leaning that way. And he has indicated to me that he would love to be a school resource officer. So my plans is to, from time to time, let him spend maybe an hour, hour and a half at Blenheim, maybe an hour and a half at Wallace, from time to time. Okay. And again, please let me just make certain that we understand this. It's going to depend on what's going on in the county. Okay. Because I assure y'all, it's wild right now in the county.
Right.
I took office in January, and I can promise y'all, I have not slowed down since I've been in office.
I've got a wild idea here. You know, when you drive through McCall, the firefighters and the police, I think the police too, but I know the firefighters have those buckets in the street, and people put donations in. What about doing a fundraiser over the whole county for SRO officers and let people drop the money in according to, you know, I mean, why not?
That is a wild idea.
It is a wild idea, but you know, as we're finding money, I mean, to do this.
Why don't you do it on Friday night, that football game?
There you go. There you go. But the bottom line is fundraisers.
We could do that, yeah.
To help with this.
Madam Chairman, I can't answer that because I know where that leads to. But again, thank you all for allowing me.
Thank you so much for coming. Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
We're going to do something quickly.
All right, let's move on to curriculum, testing updates. Dr. Sterling Harris.
You can just tell us. We like the way you talk. Just tell us. Okay. Just do it.
Greetings, Madam Chairwoman and members of the board. We come here tonight from the Curriculum Office to present to you the testing update. We have
Got it right here.
we have your all of you should have a packet, and we're just going to highlight a couple of areas tonight on the testing update. We're not going to go through all of the data, but we're just going to talk about where we are as a district.
Tell us the good news. Can we have some good news?
Yeah, we do have some good news. Our test results are mixed again this year, as I think Dr. Lane emphasized last year. We've not had as much movement as we'd like in the forward category, but we've not had a huge dip, and that's very encouraging. When you look at our test scores with our SC Pass, just a couple of things I'd like to highlight. As you can see to your far left as you look at the board are the state mean scores, the average of all the students who took the test in the state. And what I highlighted was those areas where the state met in category. And as you can see, the state met in the SC Pass and the social studies in the 4th grade and the 6th grade. And just a couple of things I highlighted on this was our individual schools and where we met. And as you can see, we are extremely strong in social studies in our early and our elementary grades. If you look over all of the social studies scores from 4th grade on up, our students seem to do very well in that. It's probably because of our rich history and this being up here in God's country, that our kids get a lot of access to those things, and so we're very happy with that. If you look over in the area for our SE pass scores in the area of science, our students also, as far as scale scores, fare very well in respect to the state, and we'll show that to you on a future graph.
Why is Wallace not listed? Scores.
We pulled these scores from the State Department website, and for a reason we don't have those in that 3rd through 6th grade category, only in that area. And so we'll share that and send that out to you later.
Yeah, we probably above everything. That probably.
And some more good information. If you look over to where the SE Ready is, if you look over in the SE Ready, and Mr. Coachman, you called up Wallace. In the SE Ready, if you would like to highlight, if you look at the 7th grade and 8th grade ELA, the state average in 7th grade and 8th grade ELA is 580 for 7th grade and 613 for the 8th grade. If you look over Wallace was 612.5 for the 7th grade and 627.1 for the 8th grade, so they exceeded the state average.
What you talking about, Doctor?
In both of those categories. Also, if you notice in many of the areas, the School of Discovery exceeded, and we would only expect that from our school that really deals with some of our very talented artistic students. But me being an artist myself would always say that just because we are musicians or artists, singers and dancers doesn't mean that we don't have intellect.
Looks like Bennisville Intermediate School has come up too. To me, from my scores here, I know we're a little below the state average, but it's definitely up.
Yes, I was going to actually highlight, if you look over at BIS, BIS has a number, when you go back to the kind of, I guess it's a slight orange category, what I showed you was the difference between what the state standard was for MET, the state score, and how close or how far students were in relation to those state scores. And if you look, as Ms. Ordination has suggested, though we do have some struggles at BIS, Mr. Singletary is doing a good job of really stressing academics in the classroom. When I first met him, he told me that, that it's one of our support schools. He told me that his goal was to get them off of that list, and even though we're not there yet, you can see that he's moving very close.
Congratulations.
The next slide I want to show you is the scale scores, and all the way to the left you see a black bar that shows the scale scores, and these are scale scores for SE Ready. The next bar to that black bar, which is normally the highest bar in SE Ready in every category, is our district average. And as you can see, though we're not at the state level with SE Ready in our ELA and math, we are getting there. We are fairly close, and a number of our schools, you don't see many outliers, or if any. And an outlier in terms of data is one where we're so far away, it's absolutely noticeable on graph. So we wanted to show you how that looks in terms of SE Ready. If you look at the next one, it's our SE Pass. And even though on the scale the gap looks a little bit different, actually in our SE Pass, as you can see from your actual numbers, we actually meet the state average in a good bit of where we actually exceed the MET score that the state is looking for. And we do a little bit better with our SE Pass and our science and social studies in our younger grades. Hopefully that those things will transfer as our students move up and into the high school.
Wow, science scores.
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, science scores, if you look on the,
4th, 5th, 6th,
right there, those are our
7th,
science
and
scores
8th.
as compared to the
Good.
state. And you can basically almost see very little difference. So actually, we think some of the things that our principals are doing to stress that interaction in our science classes and the science kits and the interactive learning is helping our science to be on par.
We want to thank a couple of our administrators who brought that to us, Ms. Danny Blair and Ms. Barbara McCall.
Okay. Yes. The high school, we're still facing some challenges with the high school. The high school took a little dip in a couple of areas, and then some slight improvements in 2 others. The high school, as you can see, those percentages show our district in terms of passage rate. And something you may have seen as you looked at the earlier scores is systemically, we're behind in math throughout all our grades, and that's some of the challenges that we have. And even as you go through our younger grades, our math scores kind of struggle to keep up with the state average, and of course, math is something that builds, and so we're seeing some evidence of that in our high school. Again, science, our biology score actually scored favorably, but in the high school, as you can see, we're trailing the state average in all areas, and so we think our principal and his team is putting together some very focused curriculum and focused directives in order to help those students be successful on those tests. But that is a challenge, and one of the things with data is data, and so we have to recognize what our challenges are and work toward them.
I'm just noticing on the U.S. history and the Constitution, we're at 35.7%.
Yes, ma'am.
Pretty low.
Yeah, it's pretty low. And history is U.S. history and Constitution is one of the ELCs that the state struggles with the most, even though you see that average. And so those are some of the challenges that we have, and we're going to address those as we talk about some of the things we put in place. We're not able to yet get the new graduation rate, and so that's some information from the last 4 years, and then as you can see in that box, we will forward you the correct rate when we get that from the State Department.
It seems like everybody struggles with U.S. history and the Constitution,
Yeah.
even if you don't go to school.
Yes.
Well, we also got that problem in algebra and math too, which I assume is the same thing, but
there are 3 things. Next steps,
Way
you
down.
see some of the steps that we're going to take to address our areas. We are providing some grade band opportunities for teachers from various schools to get together and discuss curriculum. 3 things that the curriculum office is focused on heavily this year is rigor, pacing, and benchmarking, knowing where our kids are as we go throughout the year. And so all of our schools have put together so far a first quarter pacing guide that was presented to the curriculum office, and we're meeting with the curriculum team monthly to see that they're checking where our teachers are with the pacing guide, making sure our kids stay on pace so that our kids have a fair chance when they take the test to know that they've covered all the material. We're also utilizing benchmarking. We're going to do benchmarking online with the aid of Mr. Toole and our technology department so that our kids are prepared for the test in the spring, but also we measure our students as we go throughout the year. Instead of waiting for a big surprise in the summer, we're going to know hopefully where they are after 5 or 6 weeks. We're going to know where they are after 12 weeks. Be able to make some adjustments and give some information to not only our principals but our teachers to help in gauging where our kids are going to be. And then we're going to utilize some very focused interventions to help hopefully meet the challenges, because we have a lot of schools that have been successful. The School of Discovery had a very good year. As you can see in some areas, Wallace has had a good year, BIS. There are some areas where we've had some successes, and in all of our schools, but our goal in CIA is that we will all celebrate when all of our schools are successful in exceeding the state and the national average.
Ms. Owen Nation had a question. Okay.
well, I think Bennettsville Primary School has exceeded the federal level this year, have they not? Bennettsville Primary School?
Yes, in the map. in math. They do map assessment.
I'm sorry, I meant math.
And for 3 years, they've had and exceeded the growth that they aspired to 3 years ago. And so that's very encouraging because oftentimes what our students are dealing with, what our schools are dealing with is the product of what we're preparing them as they come up. And so the more prepared our K through 2 students are, the better product that we'll work with as our students move into the middle and the high school. And then hopefully we can send all of them to the high school where the high school principal, we can work on our challenge.
It's great. Some teachers have mentioned to me, and I don't quite understand it, that they don't have enough time to prepare for the EOC in the second semester classes because of other testing. I'm just going to throw that out there for you to look into it, that they are not getting through everything they need to get through, which may have something to do with these EOC scores. I just mentioned that to you, if you will just look into that.
Yeah, we've scaled back benchmarking this year to address that situation. And also we feel like the pacing guides will actually help because we're going to have to help everybody keep up so that our students learn all that they need.
And I think targeted intervention is going to be a wonderful thing if we can do that.
It'd be interesting to see the graduation rate for this year because it looked like since 2013 the graduation rate has went up every year. And now that we're up to 82.4, we're looking to about at 85, 86. And that's good news to see that we are doing much better in the district over the years. As sometimes we hear out of the community and in the media that our children are not doing well. Well, we're making progress, and our children are doing better, and we're moving forward. So that's good news. But some people in the community take things and make it seem like we're not.
And let me share one last thing before I sit down. There are a lot of communities and districts in high schools where students either don't have the opportunity or don't choose the rigor to take any AP assessments. And every school has to offer them, but a lot of them will say they don't make. Last year, the high school had 14 students that took an AP test. Out of those 14 students, 6 of them passed with a 3 or higher, which gave them college credit, which is a percentage of 43%. So obviously at the top level, if there are students that choose us and choose our district, our high school is providing the instruction and the intellect for those students to be successful. And those 6 students went to college and were able to exempt classes because of those AP scores. And I think that is something that they need to be commended for.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parsons.
Yes.
I think that along with this, Ms. Blair, we had some communication yesterday at church about the retention of third grade students, and I know you've talked about it previously. How many students do you think you really need to because I talked to my congregation and my grandparents and parents to tell them the importance that you do not want your child to fail because to be retained, because sometimes retention means dropout down the road. So would you just kind of update me on that piece of communication? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but hey, you got plenty of years. I know you can handle it.
We've already started because the schools have asked parents to come in and have meetings so they can explain to them exactly what this retention means. They've explained to them that there may be good causes, and it may mean they need to go to reading camp. But for the most part, we are preparing parents. They're getting signatures saying, I've been to a conference, I've heard. We're also establishing a lab. It's called a literacy assessment portfolio. With that, we'll be able to track students, know where they are before the end of the year, so we can advise parents.
Thank you.
Is there a significant number of students that kind of falls in that category with a possibility for retention? I'm just sort of...
Last year, we had 49 students to go to reading camp.
Okay.
All of them did really well, and were able to go on to the next grade.
Okay. Thank you, that answers it.
You will. All right. Mr. Norton.
I'm a little bit confused. Maybe you answered this and I didn't hear it. Is this the right scores or is this the right scores?
Okay, that form right there is the scores that came off of the State Department website. And what I was able to do with these scores was go back in and look at scale scores. And so you would see some variance because you go back in and you look at the scale scores and comparing them to some mean scores.
Well, these both say mean scale scores, and they don't jive. I mean, if you take this one and follow it across, and you take this one and follow it across, they don't jive.
Okay, the one that you have in your hand right there?
This one?
No, sir, that one. That's the one that comes straight directly from the State Department website.
That's the one I would want to use.
So you should have in there, you actually have the presentation, but you have in there, if Mr. Norton, you can hold that up, and then you have I think that's SC Ready.
Right.
And then the blue, the one at the top is your SC Pass. And that's how it reads on the State Department website. Of course, they deal in, when you're dealing with actual scale scores versus percentages, you're gonna have some variance. So I would tell you to use the one that you have in your hand right there, Mr. Norton.
This one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but when you showed us up here, is this one?
Yes, sir, and this is just the presentation.
Okay, well, if you take this one and you follow, just start the third grade math, and you follow it across, you got state, then you have district, which is correct, then you have Blenheim, which is correct, then you have Cloud Elementary, which is showing Beltsville Intermediate School, then you have Cloud Elementary, which is showing McCall.
And that's why I would say probably in transferring into the actual PowerPoint, that might be a formatting thing, and that's why we wanted you to make sure you have the actual state scores.
Okay. I saw
What's the
that too,
difference,
Mac.
Mac?
I'm sorry?
What's the difference? You trying to say something inaccurate or something?
You got schools that aren't, for instance, and I'm just use this one exactly. The state on third grade math, all right? Take this one, Mr. Coachman, and you take this one. Your state score is the same, 453.9. Your district is 393.2, which is the same. Blenheim is 327.2, which is the same. Cloud Elementary on this one is 390. On this one, the Beltsville Intermediate School is 390. Cloud Elementary on this one is 387, which on this one is McCall. School of Discovery is correct. And then Beltsville Intermediate School at the end of this one is actually Wallace's score, based on what I'm looking at.
So if you look at this one,
School of Discovery doesn't have third grade.
I know they don't, but it doesn't. That's not what it shows.
Yeah, I know.
these two, these ones that were sent in your packet, these are directly from the State Department website. So in the formatting, those may have switched around, moving that from there to the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Bottom line, we look at the state.
Look at this.
Yeah, yeah.
We still have improvement all the way across on the items that you presented to us.
Yeah, we're still in the same area where we were last year. We have challenges, we have improvements. Our strongest areas are in the areas of social studies and science across district, and we struggle in math as a district. We would like our English to be a lot better. We're struggling in math as a district. It's something that we noticed this year and we noticed last year.
Thank you. All right. Next is online testing readiness update, Mr. Toole.
Good evening. At the last board meeting, I think it was Reverend Woods, Board Member Woods, had some comments about the schedule as it relates to the online testing labs. And so Dr. Lane asked me to give a full detailed list of where the elements of that project are. And just in review, I wanted to remind the board that in February of 2017, we went through a 10-month application and evaluation process with the State Department, and following that, we were awarded $1.5 million to be spent on purchasing and installing the equipment that would be necessary for us to conduct online testing, the annual end-of-year online testing in a 14-day window. So that was the goal, and of course, we will be doing our online testing in May this year. The project consists of 14 new computer labs and the upgrading of 11 existing computer labs. The installations are at 7 different locations. As of today, I'm getting to change that. 9 of the 11 labs to be updated are complete. Installation at the Marlboro County High School and Bennettsville Intermediate School was delayed due to discussions related to reconfiguration. If y'all remember back, we were considering, in fact, 3 of the rooms that we're using for the high school testing labs now were in fact going to be classrooms that would have been used for if we moved the intermediate kids over here. So that was a little bit of a hold up to us. In addition to updating and adding new labs, the project also consists of the replacement of 21 servers and 8 core switches. At the completion of the project, including funds made available to the district through the K-12 Technology Initiative, the district will have invested approximately $2 million in our network during the past 12 to 15 months. That's significant for any district to be able to put that kind of money that quickly into their district. And so, but what we need to start planning for now is 5 years from now, when all this equipment has reached its life. And so we've got to start thinking about, we put in an awful lot of equipment in a short period of time, and so it's all going to come to the end of life at the same time. Included in your packet is a chart, and I've tried to itemize the different elements to the project, and I've given you some projected completion dates. And these are worst case scenario dates. Our real objective is to be through with all labs by the first of the year. And this would allow, as Dr. Harris mentioned, some months for us to practice with the programs, do some online testing, practicing with the labs that will be used during the actual test itself. And if you look at that chart, I've got a few changes because this is a moving target, y'all. We're doing stuff almost daily on this. And if you look at the high school, the final completion date, we got some good news last week. We had to put the electrical connections out for bids, and one of the bids was low enough so where we don't have to wait for a 10-day protest timeline for bidders who didn't get it. If it exceeds a certain amount, then the procurement says that we have to post that award letter and then wait 10 days for the people to protest if they choose to do so. Because one of the bids were lower than that, we do not have to do that. So that one item right there is saving us 2 weeks. We can go and get started right now. Anyway, I've changed that date to the end of October for the high school labs. If you look down at BIS labs, we received those computers to upgrade those 2 labs last Thursday, and today we completed upgrading one of those labs, and we'll finish the other second lab by the end of this week.
Is that 2 core switches? Is that what you're talking about?
No, these are computer labs.
Okay.
I'm still in the computer labs.
All right.
The core switches, we can do that. We have switches now. This would be the core switching upgrade wouldn't really affect our ability to do more testing. It'll make it less likely we'll have a problem.
Right.
But that's not part of what we're trying to do really quick.
We're working on it, getting there.
We getting there quick, yeah.
Good, that sounds great, thank you.
And then McCall, we're expecting all three of those labs to be ready by March 30th. And we just got School Discoveries completed. One of their new labs completed last week. So.
Great.
Does anybody have any? We're pushing as hard as we can, and it's a great benefit for this district. And I'm hoping we can continue to see it. This is a good thing. This is not a bad thing. Yeah, this is a good thing that we've got going on here.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Toole. Next is South Carolina Education Oversight Committee and Accountability System, Ms. McCall.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Lane, board members. In your packet, I put information about the new accountability system that is proposed and sent to the U.S. Department of Education for approval. In South Carolina, we have two accountability systems. We have the state system and the federal system that identify schools based for priority, focus, and those type things. This new system of accountability will merge into one. This accountability system is required by the federal government as part of the reauthorization of No Child Left Behind, which had an accountability system. Now it is Every Child Shall Succeed. If you remember, there was some talk a couple of years ago about going to an A to F rating for schools. Our state rethought that, thank goodness, and we're going back to the old accountability ratings of excellent, needs improvement, and those things. There's some information in your packet. The one thing I want to bring to your attention, though, is this new accountability system will raise the cut scores for testing or those scale scores up, so the bar is being raised. So therefore, where in simplistic terms, if we had to meet a 500 score for a MET, it may go up to 550 now. So the bar is being raised. And on the second page in your packet, I gave you information from Dr. Sheila Quinn, who is the Deputy Superintendent for Education of South Carolina Department of Education. With this new accountability system, presently, we have 40 schools that are classified priority, 8 federal, 32 state. With the new accountability system and the ratings, we'll have 120 schools that will be classified unsatisfactory. That is an impact. It's an impact for our district. It's an impact for our state. So even though we're going to a one system accountability, the bar's being raised, and therefore there may be a lot more identified schools as unsatisfactory or in that priority or focused or support. And we felt like it is very important for you to be aware of this, the impact, and what's going to happen with this. The new accountability, the ratings for our schools, if passed, and I feel like this will be passed by the U.S. Department of Education, will be applied to our testing scores for 17-18 and be reported out in the fall of 18. I've also have, just for your information, I sent this out electronically, but I know a lot of us still like to look at it this way. This is just an overview. It's just an overview of how those ratings will be calculated, the percentage. They'll be calculated on student test scores, student growth, percentages for those, and then percentages for the social studies and science test, and for a survey. So those are just for your information to peruse and look at. I know we'll get a lot more information once this is passed. And as I say, I feel like it will be passed because it meets the criteria that the federal government established for ratings for schools. Then we will have some more information about how to calculate this. It's calculated two ways. If you have schools that have 20 students of second language ESL, they're calculated one way if you're not. And for us, that's not an issue in our district, but in some districts it is an issue, those English as second language students. But are there any questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next,
Madam Chair, Mr. Woods is here now. Can you go?
let me go on down through this instead of jumping back right now. South Carolina Career and Technology-based firefighter, 1 and course 2 established guidelines, and the South Carolina Fire Academy CTC firefighter 1 and 2 testing information. Mr. Black.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, and Dr. Lane. I shared with some information with you already. The guidelines that have been established by a state partnership with the State Department of Education, the South Carolina State Firemen's Association, and the South Carolina Fire Academy. Also included is also the grading scale, because this program requires a statewide grading, which is just a little bit different. We still use the same system number-wise, but there's it actually breaks down what's going to be graded and how it's going to be graded for you. Just so you'll know, this program is about 5 years old. I was fortunate. I've been on the ground level since it started at the state level. Had some conversations with Dr. Tiller a couple of years ago. She was on board with getting it started. I got moved to Blenheim, and so I kind of had to back off. When I came back last year, the first thing I did was brought this back up. And this summer I met with Dr. Lane because the plan is here for this program. Our plan is to start. Not working, Mr. Toole.
Why don't you just summarize it for us? Just tell.
We got to read out here at the end.
Yeah.
Well,
We've got it right here. Yeah.
It's just a couple slides. I was going to show you what is expected out of the students.
Okay.
I can move ahead. First, this is a program where national standards could be met. That's the focus now in career and technology education. The advantages of this program, students can actually complete this while they're still in school. In a few minutes, you're going to see the numbers, and that's why this is so important, training-wise. There will be some training that's required after school hours because there's no way to get it in during the day. And a student can still participate in the program, extracurricular activities. Currently, I have 2 football players that are interested, and football practice would interfere if we were doing this at night. One of them is actually an honor student, and then once you become 18, you actually have a national certification that could help you get a job as a career or volunteer firefighter, whichever way you want to go. Local partners will actually be between the high school and all the local fire departments. What a student will be required, they must be 16 to get into the program. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Parent must sign an approval form for allowing them to participate. They will be associated with a fire department, but that's not necessary in the beginning. It's just how the fire academy does business, so we'll have to associate them with an department, probably by their area. There will be a physical examination, and a lot of these departments are already doing it for the kids. We have about 10 or so kids that are already associated with departments that are interested in this program that may have taken the physical this summer. And then because you have to wear SCBA, they have to be fit tested, which anybody that wears the SCB has to do that. They'll have to follow rules of the Fire Academy, which deal with class attendance, skill evaluation, and grading, and what the school district rules on class attendance are. Our rules are much stricter than the fire academies. They will have to wear personal protective equipment to successfully complete the skills part of this course. This is why I wanted to show you. This is what they'll be in the Firefighter 1 program. It's a total of 210 to about 250 hours. Right now, it's right at 210. The Firefighter 1 course is only 145 hours, but you also have to take hazmat, which is another 40 hours, and you have to take first aid CPR, which is another 5. So this is a big thing. If we can get these kids while they're still in school, they can knock this out and not interfere with the nighttime. And this is why we can't find adults now.
To do it.
They don't have the time. And then we turn around and finish up the next semester or half of the year. It's about 53 more hours with a Firefighter 2 class and a 16-hour extrication class. So altogether, this is well over 250 hours of training that they can get while they're still in high school. And once they're finished, they can serve the community as a volunteer or they become a career person. And I actually teach the program at night. We've had at least 5 kids in the last year. The problem was they had to turn 18 before they got hired. They now work in this county. So this program has merit. And matter of fact, there's a young man sitting over, well, he moved. Shaheem, he's biting at the bullet to get in it right now. Size needs to be about 20 students, and it's because it's so dangerous. Any program in the Cade area where you're dealing with tools or anything like that, the teacher has to really supervise. We have about 15 students right now that are ready to go in this program, and we plan to start in January.
Once you start starting some fires and putting them out, I'll bet you get some more in there, Chuck.
We hope so.
Have we making these programs aware to the parents and the students about all of this, giving them all this information?
Not yet, not the parents. But
Thank you for this new program. We think it'll be an asset to the school. Okay, good.
Thank you.
Ms. Parson.
Yes.
Ms. McCall, good information here, and I didn't get the minutes in my packet because what you presented, I guess there might have been something in there. And it's kind of disturbing because it's very disturbing in the long run. I know you gave me this.
Information in your packet.
I did see in my.
You didn't get your packet?
I didn't get the packet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
If you could just get me,
I will.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
Can I email? Okay. Would you mind if I email it, or would you prefer that I get it to you in hard copy?
I like a hard copy.
I'll get it to you tomorrow.
At your time, because I want to. This is going to impact us.
But it is what it is.
And we need to be as board members, I want to be aware of what it is so that we can be ready.
Absolutely, and I'm sorry, I didn't realize you did not have the information.
As I said earlier, I got the agenda, but nothing else.
Okay.
Or none of the minutes or none of that. But I would like to get that. Thank you very much.
I'll get you the hard copy tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCall. And next, Mr. Parks, the financial report as of September 21st, 2017.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Lane, you have before you the financial report as of September 21st, 2017. I don't know if there's any questions you might have about that report.
Any questions? All right, let's move on. Bus driver compensation.
Okay. Attached, please find a revised bus driver pay scale as modified based on the directive given at the last board meeting. Based on that directive, Marlboro's starting hourly rate is $11.02, ending rate $13.78, and midpoint is $12.40 per hour. As I've provided a comparison, which we have overhead and is included in your packet as well, we have looked at bus driver compensation at the surrounding PD districts, including Chesterfield, Darlington, Dillon, Florence, and Marion. As indicated on the summary, the rates of pay range from a starting rate of, it's actually $9.41 to $11.19, an ending rate of $13.32 to $16.14, and a mid-range average rate of $11.51 to $13.67.
So what you're saying is we're competitive?
We're competitive. When you look at it, bottom line, you can kind of see how we compare throughout, but I think we're very competitive.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
Good. Got it done?
I have a question.
Mr. Woods?
So you saying that the ones that been with us over 16 and 20-some years, have they been compensated?
Yes, sir, they have. We did provide an increase, added 2 steps.
What was that rate?
The rate, we added 3% to with the 2 steps.
With the 2 steps?
The 2 steps, yes, sir.
How much is the 2 steps?
Top rate becomes $13.78. It was $13.38 before, so there's a 40-cent an hour increase. Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Parks. Next, with Dr. Lane and the superintendent's report, the South Carolina School Board Association certification of delegates for 2017 Delegate Assembly.
Thank you, Madam. Excuse me, before you get that report, could I share with that, or you want to go there before we go into executive session?
Yeah. I want to keep right on going down. And we're going to cover the signs in the next meeting.
Okay.
Because they're going to get information, et cetera.
Okay, that's fine.
That's lumped together.
Okay, that's
so,
fine.
Okay.
That's the part I want to talk about.
Sure. Go ahead, Dr. Lane.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, and good evening to all the board members. The South Carolina School Boards Association is asking that you identify 2 members to attend thank you, Mr. Toole, to attend the meeting in Charleston on December 2nd, 2017. And this is the annual business meeting of the School Boards Association, and you will have 2 votes at this meeting, and we need your 2 delegates not later than November 14, 2017. So you have some time to give some thought to it, and if you can select this person at your next board meeting, unless you decide to do it tonight.
And the date is December 2nd?
Yes, December 2nd.
Okay. All right, next is special partnerships at Bennettsville Primary School.
Yes, I'm very pleased to share with you, and I'm going to ask Ms. Redding to stand just in case if you have any questions, that they have partnered with Thomas Memorial Baptist Church, and the church has done many and is doing many things to support the initiatives at that school, but 2 of the things that they've done that I feel I really wanted to highlight tonight is, 1, the church has given a $100 gift certificate to every teacher at Bennettsville Primary School for a total.
That deserves a hand,
yes.
Yes.
For a total of $3,400. Where were they when I started teaching X numbers of moons ago? Additionally, they have taken on the task of providing a 20 by 20 basketball court. They will provide the concrete and everything, and refurbishing of basketball goals. We just wanted to highlight that that's a special partnership. Thank you, Ms. Redding. Unless you'd like to say something. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with your permission, I'd like to ask Mr. James McCall to come forward. He's the man, as they say, what's the plan? And as he come forward, and this won't take but a moment, but we do beg upon your indulgence. Yes.
Yeah.
I want him to describe this car that's being raffled and tell you who has donated this car. Now, I bought 2 tickets already.
And this is a Blenheim Elementary Middle School car raffle.
Yes. Mr. McCall.
Dr. Lane, members of the school board, we've taken it upon ourselves at Blenheim to do a fundraiser for our school for athletics and as well as our instructional program. And talking to Tommy Parker, he was gracious enough to donate a vehicle that we can do a raffle for. It is a 2007 Ford Mustang. If you've come to the high school games in the last few weeks, we've had it at the high school. We've also had it at our open house when we had open house the first few weeks of school. The tickets are $10. Our students and our faculty are selling. Dr. Lane has been so gracious to buy 2, and I know he's going to buy some more as well.
Absolutely, because
What color is it?
I usually win.
It is gray.
Okay.
And again, the money that we will be raising is going towards athletics. And if I can, Mr. Driggers came to the school the other day. We've already started purchasing things for the school in terms of shoulder pads, helmets, things that we needed for athletics to make sure that we can run our athletic programs for Blenheim Elementary Middle School.
Well, you convinced me. Here's $10.
Thank you, ma'am. I have your ticket for you.
And ladies and gentlemen, just so you will know that this is not just some fly-by-night vehicle.
No.
Tell them the suggested retail, Mr. McCall.
If I'm not mistaken, the suggested retail, if I'm not mistaken, for that vehicle is about $16,000. So we set a lofty goal of $30,000. So we're trying to make sure that we are able to cover our athletics for the next few years so that we can make sure our students go out in the best equipment possible so that they can be safe as well as represent the school in a good light.
Great idea.
Great idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. Okay. And we're going to double back up here. Mr. Woods wanted to speak about legal counsel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to bring to the board attention, you'll see in your board packet of all of the legal fees that we are being paid out. And for this type of work is being done, my concern as a board member is that we never see no scope of work for all of this work that has been done. If you look at all the prices, you got some here for $49,000, $51,000, $58,000, $60,000, $88,000. Then you're breaking down a balance, and then you got in the back where it's a debit of $27,563. I think if we're paying that kind of money, that we should be able to get the scope of the material work that these lawyers are working on for us. And I just want to bring that to the board attention, that we need to make sure that if we spending taxpayer money like this, that we need to make sure that we're getting all of the information that they're working on so that all board members will be aware of what's going on.
Thank you very much. Next, we need to go. What?
Madam Chair, I don't see prices what Mr. Woods is talking about. I mean, I see some prices.
I didn't either.
Those are the balances.
Those are balances. Those are balances that we are paid out. But look at.
I didn't have this.
Okay.
I got it now.
Look at the one where it's a debit, $27,563. My concern is that if we getting people to do this type of work, all board members should get a scope of what kind of information they're working on behalf of the board or the school district. So we're not getting,
Those numbers are balances. Those aren't.
Right, but see, you got debt over there.
Right.
So I'm just saying that if we're going to be using taxpayers' money like that, we need to make sure that we're getting the scope of the work, of what's going on.
And I agree with Mr. Woods, because I never haven't gotten a scope of the work that's been done. So the fees paying, if you're going to take our county money, all our board members need to have the scope of work being done, not just a few.
I'm not saying this. It's not. I'm not saying if they're gonna be doing work and we paying this type of money, the board. I know it's okay. Now y'all talk when y'all want to talk. I'm talking now. So it should be to that all board members should be able to be entitled to the scope of the work. We just should not be using taxpayer money without getting the scope of the work.
And next, we need to go to executive session for the following issues: personnel matters, contractual matters, new hires, resignations, high school petitions, receipt of legal advice, and acting superintendent's issues. Would someone please make a motion? Y'all, we're making a motion, y'all.
Second the motion.
I don't want to interrupt y'all or anything, but we're about to vote on something. We have a second. All in favor? for going into
Raise your right
executive
hand, we
session,
got
please
it.
raise your right hand. The motion's carried unanimously, and we're in executive session. Is there a second? Second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. And the motion's carried unanimously. No action was taken, no decision was made. And now we have several motions and also an explanation from Dr. Lane regarding Dr. Mary Rice Crenshaw.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, members of the board. I shared with the board the desire of the administration to employ Dr. Mary Rice Crenshaw as a consultant for 30 days, and she will be providing training and modeling of instructional techniques that have been proven by her and her team to help academically challenged students. I first became aware of Dr. Crenshaw's work when I was employed at the State Department of Education, and we would send her to our most challenged schools, and in 1 year, she would help schools move from the priority list to classifications of good, and even one school went to excellent. So we are very pleased at the possibility of what she may do for our district. In fact, we are excited.
All right, sounds wonderful.
All right, and next, we need a motion requesting a Title I position for Director of K through 5 Curriculum and Instruction. Would
Madam
someone
Chair-
make that motion?
Excuse me, Madam Chairman. I
That's
move,
all right.
To direct our superintendent to hire a Director of K through 5 Curriculum and Instruction, said position to be paid for with Title I funds.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. And the motion's carried unanimously. All right, next, we need a motion to approve a position for Dean of Students in the Blenheim School. And Dr. Lane, would you explain also, so everyone understands what we're doing, why the Dean of Students as opposed to an assistant principal?
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. As you know, Blenheim Elementary Middle School's student enrollment has increased significantly, and essentially what we have at Blenheim are 3 different schools. We have an early childhood configuration, pre-K through 2nd, then we have elementary, 3rd through 5th, and we also have middle school. And believe me, if you've ever been a middle school principal, and I have, that's enough of a challenge by itself. But and to be very brief, because I know everyone wants to go home. Yes, sir. I've spoken with the State Department of Education. As you know, Blenheim is a priority school, and they have priority funds. The state will allow us to use those funds to employ a person to work with students almost in the capacity of an assistant principal. We cannot give the person the title assistant principal. We can give the person the title dean of students or a title similar to dean of students, as long as the person is not, quote unquote, an assistant principal. And we have more than enough priority funds to do this. And so that is why we are listing the person currently as dean of student, and I will keep you posted as I continue to collaborate with the State Department.
Madam Chairman, having heard that explanation, I would make a motion that Dr. Lane look to hire a Dean of Students or another titular position in consonance with the State Department's requirements, said funds to be paid through the priority funds at Blenheim, and this would be for Blenheim.
I second.
Is there a second? All right. All in favor, please raise your right hand. And the motion's carried unanimously. And lastly, we need a motion to alter the compensation of Dr. Lane.
Madam Chair? Go ahead.
I make a motion that we alter the compensation for Dr. Lane.
All right.
Second.
And I would like to make a motion that that compensation be $1,000 per month.
All right. Is there a second?
All right. What just happened?
I just like to add that, make that.
As an amendment. All right?
Wait a minute, question. No, you said something different, and now you come in with something else.
I didn't say that.
No, he made an amendment. You made a motion, and we have to vote on the amendment first and the motion second.
But if you
Well, we
want-
don't, we don't talk, y'all.
Okay, then go back to your motion, Mr. Coachman, and put a figure then.
I'm not gonna put a figure, we don't talk salary figures of an employee while we.
While he's here, this is difficult. This should go back to executive session.
No, I just make a motion that we approve him.
What we talking about?
What was discussed?
Okay, I withdraw the motion,
All right, the amendment.
the amendment.
All right, so let's just have the motion, and is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, please raise your right hand.
I'm not even sure.
I don't either.
I don't, well, the motion.
Motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
I'll approve.
So keep your hands, okay, so the motion is unanimous. And so we'll discuss in executive session.
Anything in addition?
Do you want to go back to executive session so we don't wait a month
We can discuss
It's
it
all right.
late next month.
Right.
It's
and make it retroactive?
yes,
Okay,
it's time to go home. I gotta
okay,
go to
from
work.
day started. All right. Now, I need a motion to adjourn, please.
Madam Chair, before we adjourn.
Second?
Wait a minute, he hasn't made
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
I thought so, yeah.
Before we adjourn, I got one thing to say.
Yeah.
I just like this, I would just like to say that, according to our board policy, in the negotiation, that all board members receive notification of it, especially when it comes to extreme circumstances. And I think the superintendent, Dr. Tiller's contract is part of that extreme circumstance, that all board members be notified through emails. You have it, not just one or two board members. We all have that right. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see, we do have a motion and a second to adjourn?
Yes.
All right, all in favor?
I'd like to say something.
And she's gonna just overlook what I just said, right?
I wanted to say this, and we didn't mention, but your update, your Friday update, that's a good thing.
wonderful.
It does help board members stay abreast of things.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr.
All right,
Lane, for a job well done.
Absolutely.
And we know you're going to even exceed this, bless your heart. Okay.
And we'll get that worked out.
Y'all gonna
All
vote
in
what I
favor,
said.
please raise your right hand to adjourn, please. Mr. Coachman, you ready to adjourn?
No, ma'am, I had one other thing you just said. You overruled me anyway. So go ahead and adjourn.
No, go ahead before.
I just made a motion, but you. The motion was that all board members, according to our policy, when it comes to the superintendent's contract, that all board members be notified of extreme circumstances. That this is a usual occasion of extreme circumstance. And that any emails or any information that goes to one board member should be to all. That's all I said.
I second.
All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. All in favor of adjourning, raise your right hand.